Good morning. My name is Christine and welcome back to another segment of FeltTube. It is October 2022 and I thought it would be fun to do something for the spooky season. So I'm going to dive into this Bucilla kit called Witch's Brew and open it up so we can see what's inside. So let me get my tripod set up and we'll get started. All right, so you can see this is a very thick kit and has a lot of colors in it. So let's go ahead and get it opened up. All right, there's a better view of the preview there. And it comes with a piece of cardboard, which I always save in case you need them. So I have never done a wreath before, so this is going to be something different. And okay, it looks like it has this isn't all going to fit in the screen. All right, I had to put my phone on a taller tripod because these pieces are big. So I just wanted to show you the instruction sheet. It has a picture of the wreath. You can kind of see that's how it's going to look when it's all done. So this is going to be quite interesting, quite different from the ornaments I've done up to this point. So this large piece of felt is the wreath base. I was just looking at some of the instructions right after I moved my camera, and I realized in order to get started with this, I'm going to need to go to the craft store and get some poster board, because after you cut out the wreath form, just like with the stockings, when you're making a lining for the stockings, well, for this I need to use this as my form to cut out the poster board, because that's going to be what gives this some stability. So I'll need to go and get some poster board and get that cut out before I start doing anything with this. I mean, I guess I could always use the back as a template as well. So yeah, kind of exciting. This is going to definitely be something different from what I've done so far. And let's look at some of these other pieces. I know I'm not so used to these big pieces of felt. Okay, it's kind of the nice, you can see there, it's very clearly stamped, which is nice. And the quality of the felt in this kit so far has been very impressive. Oh, this one looks like it has a little bit of a flaw. Oh boy, ooh, look at that. I might have to pick up an extra piece of white felt. Maybe not, because this is the back of this piece here and the front is intact, so I can probably work around that little flaw. Looks like it got stuck in a piece of machinery or something, but yeah, I don't think that'll be an issue, because that's just going to be the back of that, and then that's going to be attached to the wreath and you're not going to see it. But I might pick up some extra white felt anyway while I'm at the craft store, or I might have some left over from another kit. Maybe, we'll see. And the green, doesn't look like any issues with that one. They're nice big pieces. After working on that vintage ornament kit with the tiny little pieces, this is going to be nice and easy to see and easy to hold. Oh, I'm so excited to get started on this. Okay, here's some brown. And the last piece is the yellow here. And that's what that looks like. All right, everything looks really nice. Let's take a look at the goodie bag here of sequins and floss. Here's the floss colors. Beautiful. Just what you would expect. It's kind of a cloudy day here. I'm by the window, but I feel like those don't look quite as bright on the camera as they do in real life. And then here is the bag of sequins we have. So we've got some green sequins, and we've got clear and black beads, purple, orange, gold, and lots of black. And last but not least, we have our 2 embroidery needles, one for the applique and one for the beads and sequins. Other than the poster board, I don't think there's anything else that I need to go and get. Well, this is interesting here. So they actually do have washing and ironing instructions here. So I didn't realize that you can actually hand wash this. That's interesting. So I guess you could wash your felt projects. I would have never guessed. And then it shows to iron it face down covered with a clean, dry cloth and 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So medium setting. Interesting. Okay, well, I might give it a try to, I have actually another kit that I need that needs some ironing as well. So good to know you can iron it. All right, I think that's it for now. It is October 3rd. I'm going to attempt to work on this in October, but because I do a lot of cross stitching, I can't promise that I'll get this done. But I'm going to make a good attempt on it. So stay tuned and I will see you in the next clip and show you my progress. All right, I have never ironed felt before, and I think I'm going to do that on my wreath because there are some pretty good wrinkles. So I have just this is my little craft iron, and I think the instructions said they wanted you to do it at, like, I don't know, 300 degrees Fahrenheit, because this doesn't really have settings on it. It just kind of has max and medium and low. So I don't know, like 1 dot, 2 dots, and 3 dots max. So I'm going to probably start maybe medium high with that there, but I'm going to practice on a piece of scrap felt first. Okay, so that feels like it's getting hot, and it also says to cover it with a cloth, and so I have this old dish towel that's been around since my childhood. My grandpa actually used to do that liquid embroidery on towels when I was growing up, so I have a whole bunch of towels that have that on it, and they're great. They're really thin, so I always use this one as my, when I'm just ironing craft projects that I want to cover. I usually cover them with this because it's really thin. Okay, let's practice with this piece here first. Notice I got some Halloween nails going there. It's still not quite doing it. I'm going to turn it up. I'm going to turn this puppy up all the way to max. I don't know if I really need that towel. Doesn't seem to be bothering the felt not using it. Well, you can see that ironed up really nicely. So I did start cutting out the moon the other night. That's going to be the first thing that I start to sequin is the moon. And the instructions do not say to stuff the moon, but the picture does look like it's stuffed. So I am going to stuff the moon, even though it doesn't say to stuff it. It is October 26th, and it looks like it's very unlikely that I'm going to get my wreath done before Halloween this year. I did want to show you, though, that I found this container at the Dollar Tree. It's kind of like those those bins that you can buy for scrapbooking materials. And I got this at the Dollar Tree thinking it was only going to be $1.25, like everything in the store usually is, but I found out that the Dollar Tree does now have a section called the $3 and $5 section. So it wasn't until I got up to the check stand, the checkout, that I realized that this was $3. So if you do go buy yourself one, which is still a good deal, but I find that they work really nicely for holding all of the, what are these called? Felt kits. Because you need a little bit, sometimes a little bit more than just a project bag. So if you're looking for a storage solution, you might want to go check out your local Dollar Tree and see if you can snag one of these for a pretty good price. Okay, look at where I'm at so far. I can't remember if I had started doing the sequins last time. So the instructions, oh yes, I think I did talk about that. The instructions talked about the sequins, and yes, I kind of had to just look at the picture to decide where they go. And then I went on to starting to add some of the elements. And once again, the instructions are very vague. They just say, add to the wreath, tacking with a few stitches, attach to the wreath using a few stitches. Well, I really had no idea how to do that. So I kind of ad-libbed my own way here, and what I did, now they always tell you, oh, when you attach things, don't go all the way through the stuffing. Well, I ignored that, and so I think what you could do is you could probably do a tacking stitch to where you go in the back and you just attach, where you just stick the needle through and grab the back of this, just grab the layer of felt on the back of these. Had I thought about that, I could have just done that, but I ended up going all the way through just for more stability. I took a knot on the back here, and then I just went up and down through all the layers, and I kind of just did it in between some of the sequins. So I just went up and then down, went up and down in the same spot, and then, took a little stitch across this way, went back up again, came down real close by, so that my stitches are kind of hidden behind the sequins there. And then they wanted me to attach the bat. So I kind of did the same thing. Okay, actually, I attached the bat to the moon before I attached the moon. But if you can look, I left this open a little bit here so that you can see. I did kind of the same thing. I just went all the way through the stuffing, and I only went along this back edge just in kind of a few spots around the bottom of the bat, and I left the top of him kind of just hanging loose. And I left that right there just so you can see. I'm going to go and finish doing those last stitches, but I just kind of followed that line along the bottom. So I'm going to go in and do a few more tacking stitches there. But I was getting close to the edge, and I didn't want my stitches to show in the back here, so I'm going to have to go through and just kind of hide my stitches there somehow. It leaves a lot to the kind of the imagination, or kind of like, hey, let's just try this and see if it works kind of thing. So far, I was a little nervous on how I was going to do that. And if you have never done a wreath before, I'm not saying the way I did it is right or wrong. It's just, they don't really tell you how. So you kind of have to find your way with it. But because I haven't added the stuffing or anything to the wreath yet, and all of these stitches are going to be hidden, you could just really make it look probably as messy as you want and not care about it. Okay, so after I got that done, I went ahead and did not go in the order that it asked, because it wanted me, after doing the moon and the cauldron, to do the bottles, the little potion bottles, but I didn't. I decided to do the witch's hat, because I just don't think it matters. The witch's hat is going to attach right up here in this area here, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take it, and I'm just going to just go all the way through and just take some stitches, up and down, hidden in the sequins all the way around, and I'm going to go all the way through to the back. So we'll have the witch's hat there, and then I did do the second bat, because they did want you to do these two bats at the same time, so I have the second bat, and I'm not sure where he's going to attach to. Let me see. I can't tell you how invaluable this picture is, so you need to refer to it often. Okay, that's right. It's going to go on top of the broom, which I have not started yet. So I think after I attach the witch's hat, I went ahead, I kind of just work on what I feel like working on at the time, and I was really feeling the jack-o'-lantern. So I got started with the jack-o'-lantern and did the embroidery and the applique of that. I did the sequins here, so I think next I'm going to do the sequins on the jack-o'-lantern and then go ahead and assemble him and just leave him off to the side, because I don't think I'm going to attach him to the wreath yet. But I don't see why you can't just make all the pieces and then just go ahead and assemble them all to the wreath at the end, which I may end up doing. But I will, after I'm finished with the jack-o'-lantern, I think I will go back and do the potions. The reason I didn't do the potions yet is because I just didn't feel like cutting out, the little tedious parts. And I did want to show you another change that I made. Let me grab it. Okay, so my potion bottles, if you look, it shows, you all know how I feel about satin stitching. I am supposed to satin stitch those little bones right there. And I am pretty sure that I won't be able to make them look like bones. So I'm going to, or I shall say I did already, ended up, because they give you, I don't want to lose any of these pieces because they're cut out already. So this is for the potion bottle right here. So can you see it's got the little piece on there, and you're supposed to attach the little skull right there. And then you're supposed to satin stitch all these little, these two little bones. And I just, like I said, I don't think I can make them look that well, so, or that good. So I went ahead and just freehand I cut out some bones. I literally just didn't even draw it on there. I just kind of, you know, marked how long they needed to be and then did it. But now, as you can see, they don't hide the lines very well. So I'm going to just take this label and I'm going to flip it over where there's no markings, and I am going to attach my little skull and crossbones like this, and I think that it's going to look fine like that. And then I don't have to do any satin stitching. The lengths I will go to not have to do that satin stitching, but I think it's going to turn out just fine. So that was the hesitation of why I didn't jump right into those potion bottles next, but I think I'm ready to go ahead and work on them next. And I'm excited. If I wasn't doing all the cross stitching I was doing, I could have easily gotten this done in a month, because it's really not that hard. It doesn't take long, and I can pretty much do one of these elements in an evening. So yeah, I feel like if this was the only project I was working on, I could have worked on it I probably could have got it done in a couple of weeks, maybe 3 at the most. Okay, that's it. I have limited time right now, so I'm going to go finish doing my laundry and the rest of my chores, and then I'm going to hopefully get a little more of this done tonight. All right, I'll see you soon. Good morning. I wanted to give you a quick tip. I thought that before my previous clip that I had recorded a clip about putting the sequins on the front of the wreath, which is the very first step that they talk about. The very first step after cutting your poster board is they say to add sequins to the front of the wreath. And normally with these Bucilla kits, they put little black dots where the sequins are supposed to go. And I noticed quickly that they didn't do that for the front of the wreath. So what you have to do is you have to take your color copy here at the beginning, and you just kind of have to go by where they placed them on the wreath in the picture, and then sort of just kind of guesstimate where they go. One thing they don't tell you to do that I have noticed after I've already attached a couple pieces here is that you're going to have to at some point embroider the legs for these little spiders. There's one here and there's one here. And if you haven't started this yet, I would recommend doing the embroider on the legs before you attach some of your pieces, because, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it was a little more difficult to do that embroidery when I had this big stuffed piece real close to it. And had I also, if I would have attached the potion bottles, it would have made it more difficult too. So the first step I would recommend if you do this wreath is when it says to add sequins to the front of the wreath, right before you do that, the very first thing you should do is embroider the legs of these two spiders. Good morning. It's Sunday, November 6th, and I wanted to show you my progress so far. All right, since you last saw my wreath, I have added the spider, the two potion bottles, the broom, the second bat. The broom has a stick that goes all the way up to there. and I stuffed it with pipe cleaners, 2 of them. I folded, kind of twisted 2 of them together because this is kind of wide, so I'll insert a picture of what that looked like right before I sewed it closed. I was finally able to add the jack-o'-lantern because the jack-o'-lantern goes on top of the broom. And then I finished the web and its spider and the second spider, and then I've added that bat. I think I did all of that since the last clip. So yeah, honestly, I thought I was going to put this away after Halloween, and I just am enjoying it so much I decided to keep on working on it. I made one change. If you'll look at the preview right here, the part of the witch's hat, I forgot to mention that last time, is they show in the picture here that it's orange, but the piece they gave me in the kit is purple. And I personally liked the orange better, so I hand cut myself a piece. But yeah, see, that was supposed to be purple. But I kind of thought, since I had orange here and orange here, that it would look good to have orange right across from them, and I think that looks better. So not quite sure, when they made the change, but your kit may or may not come with an orange band, but mine came with purple. All right, I'm going to put you on the tripod and talk about what else I've gotten done on this wreath. All right, so the last couple of days I have also worked on some of the next elements. I've done the sequins on the sock and the witch's shoe, and I did the little belt, and what I have left to do on that is do the sequins here on the shoe and then go ahead and stuff and assemble it, and then I can add that one to the wreath. Then I went on and worked on the frog, and I did the embroidery on his face and his eyes, and then the body, I needed to do a little bit of stitching right there on his feet with some dark green. That's an outline stitch. I did a straight stitch on his mouth. I think you were supposed to do an outline stitch, but straight stitch was easier, so I went ahead and did that. And then the last element to add is going to be the cat, and I did all I have left to do. So I did the embroidery. I still have to satin stitch, and I am going to try to satin stitch his eyes right there, so I'll try that. And the only other embroidery that needed to be done on this cat is some black that you can hardly see right there in between his 2 legs. And so what I have left to do are just add the sequins to the bottom of the shoe, the frog, and the cat, and then stuff them and add them to the wreath. So I'm so close to being done with this that I think I am going to go ahead and just finish it all and upload it all in this one video instead of doing the part 1 and part 2 like I thought I was going to do. I think that is all I need to say about that. I did finally go to the store last night and bought some poster board at Walmart. They were out of their 97-cent extra heavy poster board, but I did buy, what is their other brand, the Pen and Gear. It was gridded, so I had to pay a little bit more for the poster board because it was gridded, and I don't really need it to be gridded, but I was there and I didn't want to make another trip, so I did get that. So that's what I'm going to be doing next, is cutting out the poster board for the back of the wreath. I forgot to tell you that there is one other little part that we have to do at the end. There's a tiny little spider right here that's going to hang. Let's get the preview. He's going to hang from a piece of twisted cord, and there's some technique I have to do with his legs. I haven't read how to do that, but I need to read, but that's going to also be an element that I'm going to add at the very end. I probably won't do that until after I've completed the whole wreath, because I can see how he could probably get in the way. So that will be the very final step, is that little spider. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I cut on the lines when this actually has to be smaller than the wreath form. I thought that it would be easier if I cut this out, and then what I'm going to do now is just I'm going to eye it, and I'm going to take the scissors and I'm going to cut about 1/4 of an inch in from both sides. And I thought that I would be able to eye that a little bit better if I had it cut out like this first. So you probably could have just did one cut and just cut inside the line, but I just wanted to do it this way because it seems like I have more control over it doing it this way. Okay, as you can see, I need to do a little bit of adjusting because it's a little bit too close to the edge on some areas there. So I'm just going to go back and fiddle with this a bit and just make some cuts maybe around this edge here, because I think ideally you want there to be, you know, about, I'm guessing about 1/4 of an inch. Oops, am I in the camera? I'm guessing you're going to want it to be, you know, about 1/4 of an inch on that edge and probably on the inside edge too. So I'm going to go and fiddle with this a little bit and make it fit, and then I will be right back. Okay, I just decided that the reason I'm having such a difficult time with this is because my felt circle probably isn't a perfectly round circle, so every time I place this on in a different way, it's gonna fit differently. So I have decided to mark it because I think the outside circle looks good as is after I cut that last piece off, and then I'm gonna remember that this part of the wreath goes right there. This ended up being much trickier than I thought it was going to be. So what did I learn? If you are doing this for the first time, heed my warning, and right from the get-go, right after you trace, I would say, okay, so you first lay it down on the paper to do your tracing. You know, when you get your pencil and you know, trace around this, before you even move or cut out anything, I would put a pin in, just pick a spot, put a pin, and then just slide your thing and mark on top of your little piece that you're going to cut out. Make sure you go deep enough in so you don't cut it off, so that this is always lined up with this. Otherwise, it's a recipe in frustration, because obviously the felt circle is not perfectly round. So you could get yourself to where it's all perfect like this, and then if you notice, if you didn't mark, you know, those matching spots, then if I even turn this just a little bit like that, I mean, you can just see it's like, you know, extra over here, there's not enough over there, and yes, it probably wouldn't even hurt to do a second spot over here just to make sure that you're, you know, able to stay even with it. Okay, good luck. All right, I wanted to show you that I got a couple of elements stitched up last night. I did the shoe and the sock, and it turned out so cute, but it was a bit of a challenge. It was kind of a challenge kind of lining up because I sort of did this piece separate, and then I tried to wrap the shoe around it to get it to line up in the back and to hide the line, so it was a little bit tricky, but not too difficult. I did notice when it's kind of a funny thing, when I was editing, looking at my footage that I've already recorded, you can see I spotted that there's a sequin there that is a different color purple. So I think one of the sequins from another kit had migrated over to these. And the funny thing is, when you look at it in real life, you can hardly even tell that it's a different color, but it really shows up on the screen. So I'm going to leave it the way it is because you really can't see it. So I guess it's always good when you're have two similar color sequins to make sure that they, as a matter of fact, I almost think when I was doing my yellow sequins on here, there is a very slight variation between some of them, where some of them look more gold and some look more yellow. It's very almost undetectable, but I do think that there is, you can even kind of see it on the screen. Some look more gold and some look more yellow. So I think that when I get my packets from my kits and I just kind of throw together in the same bin sequins that I think are the same, they might not be. So I think from now on, when I'm going to keep my sequins from a kit that I'm working on separate from the ones that I've done, because yes, I do think there is a slight difference in color with these sequins. But like I said, it shows up more on the camera. It's in real life, it's just really undetectable. So I'm not going to worry too much about that, just something to note. Okay, and then after I did that, I worked on this adorable little frog, or maybe he's a toad, I don't know. And he went together pretty easy. Interestingly, on this one, there was a line in the back, and they wanted you, after you completed his head and stuffed him, they wanted you then to cut a hole in the back of his head and stick the neck of the body up into the head and then stitch it closed. And I think it just gives it a better finish, because you will see the back of him if you look at the back of the wreath, because his head kind of extends up over the wreath. So, all right, and all the last thing I have to do now is finish the cat tonight. And I did look at that satin stitching. I think it turned out pretty good. And because it's a simple shape like a triangle, it was easy to get it to look nice. I still have trouble with my circles. And I think I had told you that I was supposed to satin stitch the nose on the cat, and I'm wrong. I do believe that it did have a piece of felt that you were supposed to cut out. So it was not supposed to be satin stitched, so I'm leaving it as is. But if you look, I don't think I showed you closely here on the skull. I did the satin stitching on the eyes and mouth, and you could see that they're just kind of a little wonky. I have to work on my circles a little bit more. All right, so yep, on the wreath, this is going to go right here, and the frog is going to go right up top. His head's going to stick up over the top a little bit like that, and then the cat will go right there, and then I just have to do the dangly spider and then assemble the wreath to the back, which is making me a little bit nervous on how I'm going to do that. Oh yeah, and I was going to look to see, do you remember in the earlier part of the video that this had a flaw on it? And I actually never looked to see if that, oh yeah, so it ended up not being a problem because that part that was flawed was actually hidden up behind the wreath. So it ended up being not a problem at all. So I was just noticing something right after I turned off the camera when I was putting this away, is that I put my cat's eyes upside down compared to how they're supposed to look in the preview. I don't think I paid attention to that. And so in this preview, the cat is kind of looking up, and in mine, he's kind of looking right at you. And I actually think I like the way mine looks better, so I'm going to keep it that way. But yeah, I just don't know how I missed that detail, but I did. And anyway, he's a cute cat face. All right, I will see you in the next clip when I have the cat done, and I'm going to have these other two elements stitched on. All three of them I'm going to have stitched on, and maybe then I'll show you how I end up doing the spider, but I'm not going to promise anything. I realize in this video that I didn't really show a lot of me actually doing the stitching and the sequins and the stuffing, and I know that in the past I've had a few people ask me to show more close-ups of actually doing that, and I'm still finding my way with these kits, and so I don't feel real comfortable doing that just yet, because a lot of what I do ends up being kind of, as I'm figuring it out, I'm kind of fiddling with things, and it's not something that I can probably do in front of a camera because I'm, like I said, finding my way with them. But I'm hoping in future videos to show more details of like how I assemble the pieces as I get a little bit better at doing that. In the meantime, though, I would highly recommend checking out some other channels. I'm going to list all the ones that I watch below, but one of my favorites is Jennifer Good at The Good Life. Her videos have been invaluable, and really, there's not anything that I can show that she hasn't already showed, especially if you look at her playlist and watch her assemble the cookies and candy wreath, I think it is. She shows the most up-close detail of how she does all the techniques. So her channel is wonderful. So I highly recommend checking it out if you have questions about how any of these things go together, because everything I've learned from her. Some other good ones are Michelle Wood, Debbie Bailey, Stitch and Bear Time, Bucilla Babe, let me think, Servant Crafts. Those are all of the ones on YouTube. If you just search for Bucilla felt kits, those are pretty much the ones that come up. And they all have wonderful videos. So, all right. And I think that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next clip. All right, one of the final steps that you have to do in this wreath is to make the little hanging spider. So I've already made the twisted cord to hang from the web, and then now you have to do something kind of interesting to make the legs on the spider, since you don't have anything to embroider them against like you do the ones up against the wreath. So it says to use, I can't remember if it says to use 2 or 3 strands, but I just chose to use 3 because I want the legs to be kind of thick. And it said to just thread them on a needle, and then you want to just go through the body all the way through. So I'm kind of just going through from one seam to the next, pulling it through, and then it's said to leave about a 1/2 inch for a leg on each side. I'm going to leave them a little longer because you can always cut them down. So for now, I'm just going to leave them long. And because spiders have 8 legs, you got to do this. Let's see. I'm just kind of guesstimating where the legs should go. I can give him a leg trim later. Let's see, where are we at? Do I want to go right there, maybe? Where'd that third leg go? Oh, there we go. I don't really like the way I placed that one. Okay, so after you do that, to decide how long I want them, I'm just gonna eye it here. Maybe do probably looks good. I feel like the ones in the preview looked a little bit too short. Okay, so now what it says to do is to get some glue. Just some craft glue. Didn't say what kind, it just said take some glue. Just a little bit. And then it said to... So it says to just take some glue, rub it between your fingers, and then just rub the spider's leg through the glue, like so. Making sure they don't stick together. Alright, I think that'll work out, and then when they dry I might determine whether or not they're too long, and I'll give them another trim and even them out. And I might go ahead and put a couple of little antennae on him too, so he matches the other spiders. Alright, I wanted to show you my finished spider. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So after I added the glue and let it dry, I realized that you can bend the legs a little bit. And then, so I bent them, and then I added a little bit more glue to kind of keep them in the bent position. So I think they turned out just right. Actually, I think it turned out a little better than the cover photo. Let me grab it and show you. I mean, obviously it's not actual size, but if you look, their little spider legs are just kind of short and straight, and mine are longer and more bendy. So, all right, all I need to do is one more thing. I need to attach it to the wreath, and then I will show you the final project. And looks like there's a little bit of glue. Needs to be cleaned up, but okay, pretty cute little spider. Good morning. It is Thursday, November 10th, and I present to you my finished wreath. It's hard to get it all fit in. Yeah, I'm way ahead of schedule for next Halloween. All right, I'm going to zoom in and show you the details and the back. Got a few little fiberfill hairs on there, which I think with that kind of fiberfill I use, it seems like it inevitably sheds those little fiberfill hairs. It's kind of part of it, I guess. And there you have it. Okay, so putting the, oh yeah, one thing I should say, so my little spider that hangs, when I hang him up, he always wants, even though I was very careful when I sewed him on to make sure he was facing this way, when I hang him, he always wants to turn backwards. So one final thing I'm going to do is probably put a few sequins on the backside so that no matter which way he hangs, he'll look like he's facing forward. So I will do that one last thing. Okay, let's turn it over. All right, and here is the back side of the wreath. I put some cording in at the top. Assembling this part together, I would have to say, was a bit like wrestling an alligator. It was a bit challenging, and I ended up, so I stitched the middle part first, and then when I went to go stitch the outside, I still had to trim my poster board down by about another 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and you can see that it's still, I don't really like the way it kind of looks, like you can kind of see the edge, how it kind of looks like it wants to poke through a little bit. I think if I were to do this again, I would probably even make the poster board even more narrow, because it doesn't really, I mean, it's just supposed to add a little bit of stability, but the thing is, it's still flimsy, but that's okay, but it keeps it lightweight. Because at first I was thinking maybe I should use something a little bit stiffer in the background, but as many times as I had to cut it with a pair of scissors, I can imagine that if it was a stiffer material that it would be hard to keep cutting down. So I don't like the way that it looks like it's still kind of, you know, I don't like how you can see that ridge right there. So I think if I were to do another one of these, I would make my poster board very narrow so that it adds stability, kind of like how it fits like right here. So you can see that it's there, but it's not, you know, looking like it's making an edge, because I worry over time if that edge is going to start to wear down. So yeah, that part left a lot to be desired. I feel like I want to come up with another way to back this wreath, and if I think of another way, I will let you know. But I mean, it still works. I mean, it adds stability, and like I said, you want something that you can cut and trim because you want to get it to fit. Yeah, my stitches don't look wonderful around there, and yes, where it became a little challenging, where I've had some of these where I stitched them a little bit too close to the edge, I can tell that it, you know, kind of wants to pull a little bit there as well, some of these edges. So I definitely say keep your pieces, sorry, I don't have you on the tripod, but I say, you know, the farther away you can keep your pieces from the edge, the easier it was when I came to stitch this. So yes. Overall, though, my rating of this kit, I would give it definitely 5 stars. It was absolutely a joy to stitch. It was easy and quick, and barring a few vague instructions, but they were still figure-outable, you know, a few vague instructions and a little bit of the wrangling of the assembly of the wreath itself, I would say that it was just a joy to stitch, and I'm definitely excited to do another wreath. Okay, I'll probably just show you it hanging up, and then sadly, because it's November, I'm going to put it away until next year. But I'm excited to get it out all finished next year. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Please leave any tips you have for me, any suggestions, maybe if you've done a wreath before and you have some tips or tricks. I'm always open to suggestions and appreciate them all. And I think next you're going to be seeing me, I'm either going to work on some Harvest, the Mary Stockings kit called Harvest Ornaments, or I may dive right into my first ever stocking because I bought 4 of them. So I'll show you which ones I bought in an upcoming video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy felting!